Welcome to Razzball Radio for Friday, June 20th. I am your host, Nick Capozzi, and I'm always in a good mood, but I'm in an extra good mood today because it's Friday. And usually on Friday, we're joined by Rudy, but Rudy has, some babies coming. Well, maybe Rudy's wife. So, pinch hitting today, all the way from Bahaba. It is the Guru. You can follow him on Twitter at TheGuruGS. What's up, brother?
Hey, Mr. Capozzi and Razzball Nation. How y'all doing today?
Man, I am fantastic. I can't speak to Razzball Nation, but for myself, I'm feeling pretty good, brother.
You're looking fine, and congrats to our man Rudy out there with the little Rudy's coming.
Absolutely. And you know why I'm looking fine? Because yesterday on Twitter, someone mocked my haircut, so I brushed my hair this morning. I went all out for you people. All out.
Now someone talk him into getting a perm.
Hey, listen, we got a lot of news to get to today, and we will get to it, but I don't know if you noticed, we were joking about Moose and Maine, because, of course, you're in Bar Harbor the other day. Did you see that Nick from Baltimore made some Bar Harbor Meese jerseys?
I did see that. Excellent work, my friend.
You know what? I got to give Nick credit. I'm actually going to go out here and make a statement. Nick from Baltimore, you are the first official Razzball Radio super fan.
Wow.
Nick's awesome, man. Nick is totally interactive. So
listen, praise.
All our fans are, but Nick is on top of it. Sometimes too we'll have a little glitch or something. I kind of feel like Nick is my my emergency safety valve.
I love the shirt, man. I want one.
Oh yeah. Oh, I thought you were talking about my beautiful yellow shirt. It's Friday. I was feeling sunshiny.
I'm not going to talk about you and your shirts.
All right. Oh, okay. We'll get to that. But in the meantime, let's get to some baseball. Let's kick off yesterday with what wound up being a really interesting matchup of pitchers. Andrew Heaney for the Marlins and Zack Wheeler for the New York Metropolitans. I actually had Wheeler in a lot of my daily fantasy goes yesterday, so that was awesome. He got me like 42 points at DraftKings. Of course, you can always play with us at DraftKings. Every night we play a 50-50 contest. The link to that is on Razzball Radio in the daily hot sheet. Wheeler looked pretty good. Now, I'm probably not buying right now on Zack Wheeler because he's still been up and down, but the numbers are pretty good. The Ks are there. I'm probably going to stash him for a little while. What are your thoughts? We'll get to Heaney in a second, but what are your thoughts first with Zack Wheeler?
Well, while you had Wheeler on DraftKings, I had Heaney, and so you were rolling in the cash last night, and I got spanked. Wheeler, he did look great last night, man. A complete game, nine inning shutout, only 4 base runners and 8 strikeouts. But it was against the Marlins, who he has typically had success against. Wheeler's currently owned about 50%. I think he should be owned just about everywhere. The ERA's under 4. And what I like to look to when predicting, future performance with pitchers is FIP and XFIP. His XFIP is 3.15 and his FIP is 3.35. Both really good. The ground ball rate is excellent. The strikeout rate is about 23%. I say you go and pick him up now, but keep in mind he's going to get a real test next week against the Oakland A's. So I'd pick him up, but I might skip that start against the A's.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. Now, what about Heaney? Other than looking like a gangly giraffe on the mound, the kid's all limbs. He looked so-so. So there was a lot of hype with him coming up. What are your thoughts on his first performance?
I thought he looked pretty good, for his, first start for a rookie. I'm not going to put him in the Marlins Hall of Fame yet alongside Dontrell Willis just yet, but Heaney was a little shaky there in the first. He gave up that homer to David Wright, but he did settle down after that. 6 innings, just that 1 run, and 5 base runners. The K's weren't really there, just 3 strikeouts. But he plays in a pretty good, pitcher's park. The division doesn't really hit. And if I were to rank him, rest of the season, I think I'd have him right there with, say, Justin Masterson, Jared Weaver. I like what I saw. I think Andrew Heaney is worth a slot.
Okay, that's interesting. Speaking of David Wright hitting a home run yesterday, so on Twitter yesterday, I got involved. Well, I don't know if I got involved. I kind of worked my way into a conversation. Pat Mayo from Fantasy Sports Network, of course, at the PME. Great guy, Pat. We love having him on the show. does a great job at Fantasy Sports Network. They re-ranked on RotoExperts.com their third baseman for the year. And I kind of gave Pat a bit of a hard time because they had David Wright ahead of Donaldson, ahead of Longoria. I mean, before yesterday, David Wright was on pace for like a 12-8 season. That's just all name value, isn't it?
Yeah, I think probably it is. And that lineup that he hits in, why give Wright anything to hit? I might disagree a little bit there.
Okay, well, I'll give you four third basemen, and this was my argument. Rank these guys for me. I'm putting you on the spot here. Todd Frazier, David Wright, Josh Donaldson, Longoria.
I'd probably go Frazier, Donaldson, Longo, and Wright.
Yeah,
right now.
And that's pretty much how I had them. So, Pat, I love you, buddy, but I politely am disagreeing with you.
Yeah, I'm a big Frazier fan. Wright's not doing it for me, and I own Longoria everywhere, and he's been a bit of a disappointment.
Yeah, you know what? Let's talk about Longoria a little bit. I mean, the Rays have been in disarray this year. What's the problem with Longoria specifically? I think he as well is a player who is living off name value right now.
Well, I dug around in the numbers a little bit. Like I said, I own him everywhere, trying to figure out what the problem is. And he did have a homer last night, but he's killing me, in all the places that I own him, trying to figure it out. And it's kind of tough to figure out the average, the batting average on balls in play, his walk rate, his strikeout rate. They're all right around his career average, and he's on pace to hit 20 homers this year. I think he's really been a victim of that terrible Rays lineup and where he's hitting. And like the same thing with David Wright. Why would you pitch to Evan Longoria? Are you scared of James Loney or Matt Joyce? Why give Longo anything to hit? I'm going to say he starts to pick it up here as we're hitting the halfway point of the season.
Okay, fair enough. We'll be right back with some more news with the Guru and myself on Razzball Radio right after this. All right, we're back with the Guru. Every year, Mr. Guru, there's one of those power hitters which tends to come back, have a bit of a renaissance. Ryan Howard is doing that right now. He has 3 homers in his last 4 games. Not a great matchup versus Jaime Garcia today, but I think that Ryan Howard is a guy that should be owned everywhere, and he's not, which is crazy. Yeah,
I knew that this is exactly where you were going when you said, aging power hitter. It's like Howard has taken a trip back to 2006 in his hot tub time machine. He's up to 14 homers, which is, he has more homers than every NL first baseman not named Paul Goldschmidt.
Yep.
He could end up being the NL Player of the Month if he keeps it up. For June, Howard is hitting .281. He's slugging .484. I love the WOBA.
Yes, you do.
His weighted on base average is .364. The ISO is at .203, and he's got those 4 homers, 13 RBI, 10 runs in 17 games. All right, he's also leading the league in strikeouts, but and he can't hit lefties either. He's hitting about 200 versus lefties. But I'm going to say he hits another 12 to 15 homers the rest of the way, and probably hits about 230 the rest of the season. If you own Howard, I'm going to hold on to him. You might even be able to trade him for something pretty good if you have a need.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, too, speaking of trades, Philadelphia obviously is not a good spot. They have a lot of aging veterans, a lot of bloated salaries. There's a chance that you could see maybe Cliff Lee, if he can prove that he's healthy, and Ryan Howard get traded this year. Obviously, the Phillies would have to eat part of that salary. But Howard could wind up on a contender in a better situation, maybe a better lineup. Any thoughts on him actually getting moved?
It's interesting that the Phillies have just waited too long on their aging stars and moving them. I think Papelbon might be the first one to get moved, and I don't know about Howard getting moved. They love him there in Philly. It'll be interesting to see, and what team has a need. Is it going to be an American League team that can put him at DH? Now that would be pretty interesting.
Absolutely. Now, in the first, when we were talking before about superfans, we mentioned Nick from Baltimore. But you know what? I got to give props to Fausto from St. Louis, who actually has also been there from the beginning. And by the way, if you're ever
Fausto.
if you're ever in St. Louis and looking for someone to party with, I highly recommend getting in touch with Fausto. I'm not going to give away his Twitter handle because I would probably get fired. But he had a great question. Rest of season, Alex Rios or Ozuna?
Oh, I really like Ozuna, but I'm going to go Rios here, just because of the past track record. I think the lineup is better, and I love that ballpark down in Texas, especially when things heat up. So I'm going to lean Alex Rios here.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like track record as well. Ozuna's a fun player to watch, but I don't. It's close, but I don't think it's that close. I'm taking Alex Rios. Another guy who got called up not called up. He got promoted from AA to AAA, and we've been talking a lot of prospects this year, obviously, is Kris Bryant. Now, I don't see a situation, as well as he's done so far in the minors, I don't see a situation where the Cubs call him up this year, only because it doesn't make sense for them to start the clocks on all these guys that they have at AAA. Now, I could be wrong, but that's my initial thoughts. Any chance we see Kris Bryant this year?
I say bring him up now. I think Bryant is the best prospect in the minors right now.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I think he's
okay, hold on. Ahead of Tavares?
Yeah, I think.
Wow.
Well, maybe. Well, Tavares has already been up here, so I kind of forgot about him.
Okay.
But I'm real high on Bryant. He think of like a David Wright, Chipper Jones type. I think I'm with you. We probably won't see him in 2015. Maybe he gets a call up in September. But what's he got to prove in Iowa that he didn't already prove at AA, where he hit 355 with 22 homers and 58 RBI in 300 at bats?
Yeah.
I'd really like to see him called up in September and check out that a power-filled infield of the Cubs that would have Rizzo, Castro, Bryant, and another prospect I'm high on, Baez. That would make for one nice infield.
Yeah, you know what? They have a ton of legit high-end prospect bats coming up through the system. They're going to be an exciting lineup to watch in a couple of years. They need more pitching, though. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, we'll see what they can do. They'll likely trade some Argis, so we'll see what we can get or what they can get for them. Speaking of pitching, Homer Bailey's peripherals suggest that he should just be dominant. Got off to a good start yesterday until the 5th inning. What's the story with him? Because he's very frustrating.
Yeah, he is frustrating, and he's another guy that I own everywhere. And like you said, he was cruising along. He hit the 5th inning, and the wheels fell off. He's been a disappointment for sure. I was checking the Razzball player rater that you can find at razzball.com. Shameless plug.
Absolutely.
Shameless plug. Bailey currently ranked around starting pitchers like Jared Cozart, and he's ranked below Dylan G, who hasn't pitched in forever.
Right.
But you dig around in the numbers a little bit. Bailey's Ks per 9 are down from last year. The walks per 9 are up.
Mm-hmm.
The home run fly ball rate is way up to around 16%. And like I said before, I usually look to FIP and XFIP when trying to predict the future performance, and they are both a point higher than at this point last year. I think Bailey's in for a rough season.
Yeah, I wish I'm at a loss with Homer Bailey because his stuff is filthy. He should be dominating the National League, especially in the Central. So I don't know. He's making me a little bit crazy. Real quick, we're going to come back in a minute and get to some bullpen talk. But real quick, talk to me about WOBA for a second, because we bring up WOBA. I know people, generally have an understanding of XFIP and stuff like that. But break down WOBA, weighted on-base average, for me, if you don't mind.
Well, I think WOBA is a really good predictor of what a player is going to do in the future. I like to have some numbers to go by, and I think weighted on base average is a really good way to look at it. And there are some sites out there, I won't mention them by name, but you can find a lot of information on weighted on base average.
Oh, that's okay. You can go to Fangraphs. We don't mind.
Yeah. That's the spot to go to, and they have a really cool page that kind of explains exactly what WOBA is. And there's a really long mathematical
All right,
formula.
stop with the math.
Yeah. So that's why I'm not going to get into it too much, but I'd urge you to check it out and read a little bit more about WOBA, because it is a great way, I think, to predict future performance.
Yeah, especially too when you're playing daily fantasy, and we will talk daily fantasy and some bullpen stuff right after this. Okay, Guru, let's get right to some bullpen situations so we can save a couple minutes for some daily fantasy. Ernesto Frieri got rocked again. He's been terrible. Joe Smith looks like the get in Anaheim, but with Mike Scioscia, you never know. What's your take on that?
Yeah, it's a closed apocalypse situation in Anaheim. Scioscia, he hasn't announced it yet, but Fieri, I say he's done as the Angels closer. Even before the walk-off grand slam that he gave up to Nick Swisher, he'd given up 5 runs in his last 2 appearances. The rookie, Cam Bedrosian, he's not the answer. I think his ERA is around 10. So Joe
His dad,
Smith,
Steve, might be a bit more useful to the Angels right now.
hey, bring him in too. Have a whole Bedrosian closer by committee. Smith is definitely the arm you want here. He's owned in about 14% of leagues, but you never know what the sociopath is going to do. He could use Bedrosian. He could go to Kevin Jepson. He could go to the Rally Monkey for all we know. But speculating, I say Joe Smith is the guy you want if you're hurting for saves.
Okay, let's talk bullpen situation in Pittsburgh. Jason Grilled Cheese gave up the home run to Mesoraco to lose the game yesterday. Hasn't looked right since he's been back. Melanson's available in about half of leagues. You grabbing Melanson, you holding on to Grilled Cheese. What's the story?
Yeah, it's closed apocalypse 2, Electric Boogaloo in Pittsburgh. The Pirates manager, Clint Hurdle, he dropped some hints yesterday that Grilli's status as closer will be evaluated, and then he gives up the homer to Mesoraco to blow the game. It was the 4th run that Grilli has allowed in his last 2 2/3 innings. He's just not looking good. I mean, last year Grilli's FIP was under 2. This year it's near 6. I think Grilled Cheese is toast. And I suggested a couple of weeks ago at Razzball.com that it wouldn't be smart to go dropping Mark Melanson right now. And here we are. Melanson's going to be the closer the rest of the way.
Yeah, I'm with you. Okay, let's talk a little bit of daily fantasy. Some interesting matchups today. You're going to pay for David Price, but as pitchers go today, I really like his matchup against the Astros. What's your take?
Yeah, I think the 2 big arms today are Strasburg and Price. I don't like Strasburg's matchup against the Braves. He kind of struggles with those guys. Price is definitely the big arm you want today if you're going with some big pitching. It's going to cost you, but Price is the guy that you want. Some other arms that I think are in really good spots. Jaime Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
I think Ian Kennedy will have a strong start today. If you're looking to some value, Dan Herron. I think I'm leaning. I've just started doing my research this morning. I'm leaning taking David Price and maybe a Henderson Alvarez, so I can stock up some bats in Denver.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. Also, Edwin Jackson versus Pittsburgh brings good value today as well. Yeah, you definitely want to attack the Angels and the Rockies today, correct?
Yeah, when it comes to DFS today, I like the Rockies. At Coors Field, Tulowitzki at home, you definitely have to, stack the Rockies today. But, I know some people might be stacking the Brewers also, and I don't have any real concrete numbers on this, but I'll probably fade the Brewers today because it seems like when a team comes into Coors Field, that first game, they kind of all lay a dud. I don't know what it is. Like I said, I don't have
fences.
I don't have the numbers to back it up. But stack the Rockies, fade the Brewers, and of course the Angels and the A's are both in play. And I think the White Sox could make for a sneaky stack tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Another guy too who is worth going to get because he's great value is Scooter Gennett. I love Scooter Gennett.
Oh yeah.
I mean on Wednesday, Gray and I went into him or discussed him quite a bit because he's been fantastic lately. He's incredibly underowned. He's got a lot of daily value, especially too if you're trying to save some money in the middle infield, correct?
Yeah, I love Scooter. It's been the year of the Scooter for me in DFS. And, the price has been It's been below $4,000 on DraftKings for most of the season. Today, that is no more. The price is starting to shoot up, so you're not going to get the cheap scooter anymore.
What's your typical strategy? I know that Sky likes to punt catcher and middle infield. You've mentioned before you try not to spend more than 25% of your overall budget on pitching. Any other kind of gospel suggestions you got?
Well, usually I want one of the best pitchers of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think DFS bot does a really good job of nailing, who the top tier of pitchers will be for the day. So I want a number one starter. I want a big name. Like today, I'll go with David Price.
Yep.
A couple of days ago, I won a bunch of cash with Clayton Kershaw.
Well, who didn't?
Yeah. So, so I think that's a great place to start because you're almost guaranteed a lot of points when you've got, a big name arm in there. And then I'll go down and look through the value arms and I'll check matchups and past performance and ballpark factors and weather and stuff like that. So I'll grab an expensive arm, a cheap arm, and then I'll look for who I think is the best bat of the day and who I think is has the best chance of hitting a homer and maybe 2 home runs, and then I'll build my team from there.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. By the way, the DFS bot is our tool at razzball.com, razzball.com under the tools section, DFS bot. And basically what Rudy's done, he's created an algorithm that basically takes the numbers from DraftKings, what their values are, because it's like Vegas. If a line in Vegas is not necessarily who the odds makers think is going to win, it's based on getting action on both sides. So the DFS bot shows where the value is. So today, for example, I got to do this quick because we got to wrap up. David Price is kind of neutral. He's about $200 more expensive out of a $50,000 salary cap. I'll go with that. Whereas Henderson Alvarez today is about $1,000 less than what his performance will likely be. So definitely check out the DFS bot guru at the Guru GS on Twitter. Really appreciate you pinch hitting today on Friday. We'll be back on Monday with Gray. We'll talk a little bit of news. I want each and every one of you to have a great weekend. You as well, Guru.
Take it easy, Nick. Take it easy, Razzball Nation. Have a good weekend.
Bring the ring. All right, we'll talk to you Monday, guys. Thanks for joining us.